Hello, Steve White's 89. Well, I just watched Bros. I didn't manage to get to the cinema, but I still had people walking in front of the screen, but we won't talk about that. Um, it was great. Um, I can see why it has had the problems that it's had, um, but it is a great film. It's a funny film, it's a smart film, it is a very, it has heart, it is great. It's so funny. I had a moment, and it was a random moment where I had to stop it and laugh for like 5 minutes until I stopped crying, basically. And there are a few really funny moments in it. There are also some incredibly cringy moments, and part of it is I think it was a bit too real. I related to it a lot. I've definitely been Bobby. I've had Bobby moments. I've also had some Aaron moments as well, but probably more Bobby moments. And certainly when I was younger, before I had the couple of sort of relationships I have managed to have, because this film is really about a very damaged gay man, bitter, damaged gay man, having his first relationship at 40, which is something that happens to a lot of gay men. We don't get, love and relationships are not like normalized. We don't have good examples of them. We don't have opportunities. And a lot of people end up being quite damaged, and it takes a long time before they actually get into the relationships. Gay men have a bad reputation for not lasting in relationships and not, finding love in relationships. And it's put down to them just being dogs and just wanting sex. And it's actually a lot more complicated than that. And they go through so much of that in this film. They go through a lot. They go through a lot of our stuff, and it's a little bit much, because I wasn't really sure. I felt exposed watching this film. I didn't sort of want all the heteros to sort of know some of our stuff, and yeah, it's a fairly simple story. Basically, Bobby is a podcaster. He's bitter and cynical and nasty and clever, and strong, and he just randomly spots a guy and sees something. And this guy actually, to the character's credit, has the balls to actually just come up and start talking to him, where he actually insults him by telling him that he'd heard he's really boring. So much to go into there. Just going to have to, I can't let this be a 20-minute review. He basically turns him off for a minute. He leaves. They sort of have this thing happen a couple of times where they start talking, and then Aaron just disappears on him. Eventually they do start dating, although they both have difficulty with it. And Bobby has the basic insecurity of, I'm not what he wants, I can't keep him happy, I'm not this image of masculinity that this guy is chasing and pursuing and portraying. And it's all fake. All these big butch straight acting muscle guys, it's all fake. It's all, I tell you, it's all fake. And this guy's living in the fake and supremely unhappy. And he meets someone real, and actually he's able to be real with this guy. And they start dating. It works for a while. It's very difficult, very awkward. They have a lot of issues. It's very challenging, but they manage to do it for a while, until there's a moment where Aaron is having Bobby spend time with his family, with his mother and his father, and his mother's played by Amanda Beers, I'm not sure how you say her name, Marcy from Married Children. And before this dinner around Christmas, oh God, Aaron makes the mistake of saying to Bobby, "Can you tone it down? They just be easy on them, please. Be like less you, basically. Minimize yourself, be less you, basically." And of course, being an insecure, cynical, passive-aggressive person, he manages to totally sabotage the dinner and fight with Aaron's mother and make an a-hole of himself. And of course, Aaron breaks up with him and he goes off with Josh. Now, Josh is this straight acting guy who he was friends with as a kid, who ended up coming out at 40. and he's this uber masculine, blah blah blah. They end up hooking up, and of course, Bobby finds him, and he's like, I knew this is what you want. I can't be that. I can't make you happy, and I can't. This is sounding really generic. It's a lot better than that, but that's sort of what happens, and they break up. Now, again, to the character's credit, Aaron approaches him twice to try and get back together because he realizes what he did, that he basically told him to be less him, which of course is what he said. I've heard my whole life. You basically did the one thing to me that, just drives me crazy. And yes, he deliberately sabotaged the dinner. And I remember watching it thinking, this is the first part of the film, which is, I think, badly written, where they're just creating this unrealistic problem. He would not really act like this is ridiculous. He's not this unaware that he would create this sort of argument, at this, and it's because he was doing it deliberately. So I'm like, okay, that does make sense. That's okay. Let's save that. But eventually he's with his brother, who I think was played by Jay Rodriguez, and I'm like, I know that actor from something, but why I didn't really recognize him. He dreamed of making chocolates when he was younger. It was what he really had a passion for, but it was too gay. He was shamed out of it. And Bobby tells him he should do it. And when they're broken up, he just decides, I'm going to do that. He quits his job. He does that. And he donates the charity, the money to the LGBTQ plus museum, which is another part of the story. Bobby's working on that. And that's when they show a lot of our stuff. There's a lot of real gay people playing gay characters that are very real, but also very stereotypical, but also very real. And it shows something that a lot of straight people don't understand about the gay community, that we all hate each other and we all fight and we get along about as well as we do with straight people. But we still are a community. We love each other, but we do fight, and it's very messy. We're not this, happy rainbow, family. And they do show a bit of that. But they also do show that we are a community and family. They do sort of come together at the end. But I felt the film kind of exposed just a lot. It was very real, and a bit too real, because it didn't really romanticize anything. It showed romance, but it showed it in a very real way, and just the level of cynicism and honesty was a bit much. I can understand why some people weren't sold on it. There are a lot of other issues, but just to finish off the story, basically, Aaron is saying to his brother, I really love this guy, I don't know what to do. And then Bobby actually texts him because, he misses him too. And his brother's just like, just go and tell him. Don't be an idiot, just go and tell him. So he goes, and he shows up at the LGBTQ plus museum opening, and Bobby sees him, and he actually does I felt this was a bit much, but he's like, apparently he wrote a song, because he used to sing when he was younger, and he was talked out of it because he was too gay, blah, 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 and, becoming a writer and that. And he wrote this song about Aaron, but also about love, and it was very sort of cynical and self-reflective, but also very honest and very sort of vulnerable at the same time. It's interesting. He even says in the song, a lot of cynical people are going to hate this song. And he just was like, okay, he runs off the guys, they get their instruments, and apparently he was thinking of playing this, but then didn't. I'm like, well, that makes sense, because this makes no sense outside of this scene, but because he's there, he does it. And it's a nice moment. They declare their love of everyone, basically, and then Bobby acts like he's going to propose, and he's like, yeah. And then he's like, will you date me for 3 months and reconsider and reassess? And he's like, yes, I will date you for 3 months and reassess. So that's what they do. And then 3 months later, they show Aaron's mother visiting with her class, because she's a teacher, visiting the museum. So, and then they sort of joke about having kids and run off happily ever after, basically, to reassess every quarter. It's a really great movie. I can see some of the issues with why it didn't do well. They had no real big stars, and the ones that they did have making cameos, like Amy Schumer and Seth Meyers and Ben Stiller and Kenan Thompson and Kristen Chenoweth and Deborah Messing, and who else was in it? Harvey Feinstein. There's a whole bunch of people in this. Jay Rodriguez, but they all had fairly small roles. But you know what you do in a trailer? You show those people for 5 seconds. Doesn't matter if they're in the movie for 10 seconds. You put a familiar face up there. It makes people feel like, oh, there's something to go to. They could have sold this film. They could have softened it up and sold it more like a normal heteronormative romantic comedy. And I don't think anyone would have cared, because they would have, we just had to get them in. Once they sat and watched the film, they would have loved it. But they told the truth about the film and showed what it was really like. And I think that was a bit too much. It's kind of like in a relationship, when you show someone who you are right away, you scare them off no matter what, it could have been. And this, I feel like the film did that. Like, it has this real honesty about it, and it's like the way they even promoted it had that sort of element to it. It's hard to explain, but it was great. I loved it. I laughed a lot. I cried a bit. I laughed till I cried a few times. I had to stop it a bunch of times because it was just too much and I needed a minute. It was very honest, it was very real, and it was very smart. And I just think it will overall become a cult classic, and it will get the respect it deserves. But it was mismarketed. The promotion, I mean, Bros, even the name Bros, I mean, yes, this guy is sort of stuck in that straight acting sort of trap where he's trying to be that type of guy and he's unhappy in that. But that's not what the film's about. It's not about that group of guys. And the promotional poster with the hands on the butts, it's the promotion doesn't represent the film. And representing the film as it wasn't going to help sell it. They needed to soften it up and romanticize it and make it a bit more conventional, and they didn't. They decided to just be real and show what the film really was. And sometimes that doesn't work. You need to get people in, and then you can show them what the real thing is, because they will love it. But sometimes people don't know what they want or what they're going to enjoy. You have to sort of lead them. They didn't do that with this. And the Red trailer, because there were a couple of sex scenes that weren't really graphic, but they were a bit much, at least in a trailer, and one of them was in the trailer, and I'm like, okay. I get that they want to really represent what the film is, but no, so the marketing was way off. They got everything wrong. They got everything you could get wrong. They put it out the wrong time of year. Romantic comedy should be coming out in the summer, not like as we're going into like Halloween in October. They didn't highlight any of the stars that they had in it, even if they were just cameos. Still just throw them in the trailer, just throw them in there all for a second, just, whatever it takes. It's like, it was like a self-destructive thing, like, we're going to be real and show who we really are, who this film really is. Even if no one wants to see it, we're going to be ourselves or something. It's like part of the personality of the actor and the character and what's in the story, and is also part of the film. They just put that in the marketing as well. It just, I got to stop talking. This is the second review I've tried to do of this, and the first one was long, and I was trying to keep this to 10 minutes and I failed, but I just couldn't do it. There's just a bit too much to talk about. I love it. I'm going to buy it. I will watch it randomly just forever, because it's one of those films I'm always going to watch. It's that good. But I understand why it struggled at the box office. I understand why a lot of people didn't go to see it. And it is mostly the fault of the marketing, and whether that was dictated by the writer, I'm guessing, because it just seems to just be all in step with everything else in the film and his character. And someone else should have just said, okay, you put your heart and soul into this film and it's brilliant, but we need to sell it to people, and we need to like sugarcoat it a bit. And, they didn't do that. That's what it really needed. But I'm going to go, because I'm basically up to 15 minutes pretty much, and I was so determined to do a 10-minute review, but I just couldn't keep it at that. I really love this film, and I can't wait to watch it again, actually, because but I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. There's a lot of very homophobic people just jumping on this film not doing well and jumping on the fact that Billy Eichner, or whatever his name is, was attacking straight people, because no, straight people didn't show up and support us, but gay people didn't show up to support the film either. And I think that's because it was too real, too honest. It showed too much too soon. It didn't play the game, and it just put itself out there and got rejected. And that's some weird little lesson. But yeah, I'm going to stop talking. Okay.